To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you join me in prayer, please? Supreme Architect of the universe, we invoke thy blessing at this time. May this meeting thus begun in peace and closed in harmony. Amen.
Amen.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our weekly public business meeting. Commissioners, Mr. Everly,
Sir,
Mr. Rudd, welcome.
he's kind of chatty today already.
Gentlemen, are there any additions or deletions to our agenda?
No, sir.
I'd like to entertain a motion to accept our minutes from July 26, 2012 public business meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, we're going to jump right into presentations tonight, and we have a proclamation for National Health Center Week. I understand that Miss Carolyn Thrasher from the Tri-State Community Health Center is here. So, Miss Carolyn, if you would like to come up. Gentlemen? Carolyn, if I may. Is there anything you'd like to say about National Healthcare Week at all, or?
It's just that how important it is that we are recognized as a national health center, as a community health center for the community. We're very grateful to be a member of the community and be able to provide healthcare services for anyone in the community, regardless of their ability to pay. That's our mission, and that's what we're here for. And we are very thankful to be recognized by the county commissioners.
Well, we certainly thank you for your commitment. What we have here is a proclamation with the seal of Allegany County, Maryland, and I'm going to read it, reading as follows. Whereas, community health centers are an important component of American healthcare system. And whereas community health care centers are patient-focused and offer preventative and primary health care that individuals need, where and when they need it. And whereas community health centers strive to deliver high-quality, cost-effective, and accessible health care regardless of the ability to pay. And whereas community health centers improve the health and quality of life for all individuals served. Now, therefore, we as County Commissioners of Allegany County hereby proclaim the week of August 5th through the 11th, 2012 as National Health Center Week in Allegany County, and ask all to join us and recognize the importance of community health centers in Allegany County, the state of Maryland, and throughout the nation. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands to be caused to the seal of Allegany County, Maryland, to be affixed this second day of August in the year 2012. Signed by all three county commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. All right, gentlemen. Under our action agenda, we're going to be turning this over to the Office of the County Attorney for item number 2. This is our hearing date for Code Home Rule Bill 4-12, the amendment to the county building code regarding residential sprinklers.
My understanding is Mr. Squires has some comments to make from the Land Development Services, and of course it'd be open to the public for any comments.
Thank you, sir.
Afternoon,
Mr. Squires.
Good afternoon. Just a brief rundown. This is relevant to Code Home Rule Bill number 4-12, a bill entitled Building Construction. And this is a bill that will amend our building code to incorporate the sprinkler system mandate set forth by the state of Maryland. A little background. The legislation was introduced July 26, 2012, this legislation to conform to the state law relative to the installation of sprinkler systems within 1- and 2-family dwellings, including mobile homes. The enabling legislation at the state level was under the 2012 session of the General Assembly under House Bill 366 and was signed into law May 2nd, 2012. The regulation that it adopts is this document right here, known as NFPA 13D. Some specifics as we understand it to date, as there won't be any exemptions regardless of the unit square footage or the inadequacies of a water source, either public or private wells. There will be no waivers relevant to expenditures regardless of its cost. And the sprinkler system shall be engineered by a state licensed designer, and the installation, the master plumber that does it has to have a Class 2D certification, which is still being worked out. And I guess the fire marshal's office will be in contact with the plumbers from the list, and then the plumbing inspectors have to be certified as well for inspections of these new systems. Anything relevant to any other dates, I'm going to turn that back over to Mr. Rudd. We discussed that, but this bill will take care of us for now once it's adopted. I didn't get the exact date when the county commissioners were anticipated on adopting it.
Well, it's actual, there's a hearing today. Next week, the commissioners can vote to pass this bill. It'll be effective 45 days from the date of its passage. Of course, the significance of this, I don't want to steal your thunder.
Oh, you're not stealing it.
Okay. But as you all know, the state in this year's session, basically what they did was say that the counties could not opt out of the mandatory requirement to have sprinklers. However, that bill doesn't go into effect till October 1st of this coming year, the state law, and the state attorney general has opined or given the opinion that counties can opt out of making sprinklers mandatory prior to October 1st, and that opt-out is effective until the next time the code, this national code, is adopted by the state of Maryland, which is the 2015 code.
That's correct.
Which historically hasn't gone into effect until 2016. So the purpose of this bill is to do two things. One, to allow the county to opt out of the mandatory part of the sprinkler requirement, and therefore really not have to make it mandatory until perhaps 2015 or 16. But secondly, we're also, though, are going to have as part of our building standards, the standards as they relate to the sprinklers. So if someone elects to put in the sprinklers, they have to be built in accordance with the federal master code. Is that correct?
That is correct. It would put the regulations in the books where we don't really have it at this point. So any private contracts and so forth that were done, they have that to fall back. It will be under county law, adopted by county.
And we believe one of the reasons that the opinion came out the way it was to allow the local jurisdictions a time to adapt to this mandatory change. As Commissioner Valentine said in the past, there really isn't even the training in place for the people locally to be able to be the plumbers, the inspectors, and stuff. Otherwise, it'd be hard to do this after October, to meet the October 1st deadline.
Okay, all right.
I guess at this point, if
For some
the
public
public
comment?
has any questions or.
Certainly. Looks like we have Mr. Robert Nittenberg about the sprinklers. As Mr. Nittenberg does come to the podium, please remember to give your full name and address for the record.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Robert Nippenberg, 17608 Old Dan's Rock Road, Frostburg, Maryland, 21532. I am on the sprinkler committee for the Allegheny-Garrett County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. I am also on the sprinkler committee for the Maryland State Firemen's Association Sprinkler Committee. I highly urge you not to opt out of this sprinkler requirement. There are sprinklers being installed in the areas around us, not on a daily basis, but there are people out there that are doing it. Now, I realize that we had it done at the Midland Fire Hall on our new social hall, and it was done by regular plumbers. I mean, you put a pipe together and put a sprinkler head on it, but it has to be done to a certain design, and that's where some of the misconception comes in with the plumbers, is that you have to have a qualified designer to design the sprinkler system, and then the installer comes in and puts it together. And as Mr. Squires said, the plumber needs a 2D license or certificate from the State Fire Marshal's office. So it's not like they have to go somewhere else and get trained, but they have to have that certificate through the State Fire Marshal's office. And like I said, I would urge you not to opt out of this. I would hope that, if I understood correctly, you're going to vote on this next Thursday.
We haven't set the date, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
We could.
we could. That's the earliest we could.
I would, in talking to Commissioner Valentine, I think there's some misconceptions between his idea of the sprinklers and mine, and I'm not saying mine's right. He might be totally right, but I would urge you to have maybe the State Fire Marshal and his people come up and talk to you, along with Mr. Squires or anybody else that you would want in the county, and we can do it at one of your work sessions, or we can do it at an open meeting. But I would like to be able to get a level playing field so everybody is on the same level of understanding and the education of this thing. And I know it's a somewhat of a hardship for people if we don't give them an incentive to do it, because the outright cost can be exorbitant depending on how big you build a house. But this is a life safety issue, not only for the residents, but also for the firefighters. With new construction, those houses, and I've given each of you videos and a lot of information in the past, those houses burn much faster. And in rural areas, if the fire department's delayed for any reason, that fire has a chance to then work on the floors, which are now made out of 2x4s and a slab of plywood in between to be a floor joist. And the rafters are held together by gusset plates. And once they heat up, they actually pull out of the wood because the wood shrinks and the roof collapses or the floor collapses. And by that time, it could be a firefighter that's inside the building. So I'm concerned about the residents of this county and state. I'm also concerned about the firefighters' life safety. Sprinklers are not there to save your home from everything. If the well would run dry, the thing is that sprinkler gives you another opportunity over top of smoke alarms to get out of the house. It'll activate where the fire is, usually one sprinkler head at a time, about 15 gallon a minute. And if you have 100, 200 gallon in the well, if it runs dry, guess what? You've already exited the house. We've saved your life. Now, by chance, it may save your property, or at least slow the damage down. And all the reports that I passed on to you within the last couple of weeks, excuse me, has indicated the difference in the time frame of old construction as compared to new construction. And we've gone through some losses of life in the last 18 months in this county. Most of them were in older construction. So we're not wanting you to put sprinklers in, as retroactive. We want to confine this to 1 and 2 family dwellings for the future. And I hope you would take our offer and let us sit down with you and put it on a level playing field with Mr. Rudd and or Dave, and see if we can't get everything straightened out at one time.
Okay.
That'd be my request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
If I can just point out on the time frame a little bit, as we've indicated, if you don't opt out by October 1st, you're stuck. It's mandatory, and there's nothing you can do. The problem is the 45 days. If you pass it next week, the 45 days gets you the bill effective by October 1st. If you wait too long, you're not going to have it effective. Obviously, if you pass this bill, there's nothing to say if you change your mind in the next year or two, you can always make the sprinklers mandatory. It's simply you have no choice after October 1st. They are going to be mandatory, whether you like it or not. So I understand his concern to have more input. There's certainly time to have input, but that would be, in other words, to repeal this bill or do something different. But if you don't do anything by October 1st, it will be mandatory. You're out of options.
Okay.
So.
And Bill, just so we're clear, today is the first meeting date of the month. Our first legislative date of the month would be next Thursday. that you could actually take a vote. You would not be meeting the following week.
Right.
And the next opportunity you would have to take action on is the 23rd, and that would be beyond the 45-day threshold to make October the 1st.
That's correct. That's the problem. So if you, because you're not going to be, you're going to make go in the middle of August. So the next time
Which
you'd
is
have
not
an
a
opportunity to
legislative
vote.
date, but the
Yeah,
23rd
would-
would be the next time to do it.
So you go, just figure out the math. From there, you go through September, it's not time. You're not going to get it passed by October 1st. So you either vote next week, or it's mandatory. You have no option. That's the problem.
Okay.
And once I'm saying, once you do pass it, there's nothing to say you can't go back later on and say, we're now going to make sprinklers mandatory. You can do that. That's in your hands as opposed to the state of Maryland's hands as well.
What do we have on our work session next Thursday?
Nothing at this point in time.
Well, maybe we can work with the state fire marshal to have them at our next work session, which will be right before that, and get some knowledge about it. We'll see what we can do. We'll see. Anyhow, we've got another gentleman here to make a comment on sprinklers, Mr. David Hines.
David Hines. I work for Foxcraft Home Builders, and my, I guess our business address is 12816 Winchester Road over in LaVale. My personal address is over in West Virginia, but I guess it, just, looking at this thing, I've been an employee of Foxcraft for 10 years, and over the years, I've met with thousands of people, and I probably have had sprinklers brought up at a request maybe once or twice. Folks come in and say, "Hey, I'd like to talk about this," and but as this thing has come forward, we also build in Pennsylvania as well, and we had. I like the approach that they've taken, where they've allowed. Initially they enacted this legislation, whatever that building code, and beginning of last year they right the 11th hour said, oh, okay, let's allow the areas to, have the builder. It's going to be mandatory that you offer this, and then if the homeowner opts not to do it, but you'll at least offer it. And that's the approach they've taken. And I think that's it's given that choice to the homeowner. Say, okay, I can, if I want this, here it is. But it's being offered, and I can honestly say that we're. As a home builder, we haven't in the past put it out there. So here's a sprinkler option. I think that as it comes to the front, though, I think that's a pretty common sense approach. That if the folks want it, here it is. This is a cost, and I think that as this becomes more widespread, maybe folks will opt for it. And I also have some concerns too as we look at the different layers of this. We talk about the delivery of the water, the infrastructure to deliver the quantity of water required for these systems, where we're talking about, 1 or 3/4 inch lines in most of these homes, if it's going to have to be a 1 inch line, then, where's that going to come from? And then also too, if somebody has to have auxiliary tanks to store the water, let's say they're on a delivery system that won't bring the quantity of water needed, are they going to need to have a pump, and then are they going to need a generator in addition to that? So there's a lot of parts to it, and so I'm just not sure that all areas are going to be able to adapt to it. And I think that eventually, it's going to happen. As you see, as things change, go forward, it's going to happen. But there's a few layers that we're concerned about, and I think that if we just step back a little bit, and like I said, I like what Pennsylvania's done. We built a couple homes up there last year, and basically adopted their rule where it said, it's basically you have to sign a waiver. We're not going to do this, or we are going to do it. So I think that would make a lot of sense to look at something like that.
Okay.
That's all.
Do you
Yes.
have an idea of the cost per square foot that you've seen in homes where if you're
Yeah.
offering the package, then you evidently have an idea
I
of
have,
the cost per square foot?
I have a limited experience in it. We've offered, there's, I guess, I don't know that I could adapt it to a per square foot number, but I would say that probably in the range of, about $5,000 for, say, an 1,800 square foot home. That was a particular one that I put forward to somebody.
That's one on a municipal system or?
That was actually on a municipal system, but the scenario there was they had low water pressure, so they had to do the tank and the pump and the whole deal. So now the pump in that case would serve dual purpose because they had to get the pressure, at their fixtures up so that one pump did work. But so, yeah, I've also had other proposals that range from, $4,000 to $8,000. So I would say that I'm definitely not an expert, maybe $4 a square foot, but I'm not really sure if that's completely accurate or not. I don't have enough depth in that.
Now, Dave, it would be
Yeah.
$4 a square foot on a municipal supplied structure?
David, I don't have enough information to really tell you that. I know that, we've quoted half dozen systems. I'd have to really delve into it further. But I would say that, the pricing I've seen, is in this $4,000 to $10,000. So I think it varies based on the size of the home, the demand that's required, and all those type of things. So I wouldn't say I'm an expert in that.
Well, thank you.
So, okay, thanks.
Thank you, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on the sprinklers? Yes, sir? Yeah, that's okay.
My name is Gary Kimmel, and I live at 13921 Craddock Road. I just gave you the old one. And my comment on the sprinklers is I think they're great to have for the safety. I worked at bakery, and I worked at also at Beeterlack, and we had to deal with the sprinkler systems, and I had to deal with the designers and the installers. Now, when I was at Beeterlack, there is the only one that was doing at the time any installing was LAP, and that was using the license of the gentleman in Hagerstown out of, I think, Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah.
And otherwise, everyone was out of West Virginia is what I used. And I think they're great. The only thing I have against the sprinkler systems is I think there's a lot of information that no one's talking about. And I know that at Beeterlack, the insurance companies, to get the proper insurance and to be able to get your deductions or whatever, they had to be monitored. Just like a valve, if somebody shuts a valve, you can put a sprinkler system in. If somebody goes to the main valve and shuts it off, you don't have a sprinkler system. We had to monitor them, and they had to be monitored like through someone like ADT or what's the guys local did it too. But you had to monitor it, and I would imagine it's just like with a family. If you have a gun in your house, kid can find the gun, there's a problem, all right? What if a kid turns the valve off and you don't know it? Or what if your wife thinks she has a water leak or somewhere and she shuts the wrong valve off or something? That's why they'd want them monitored. It could be shut off and your sprinkler system is worthless. And no one's talking about the cost of doing that and the testing. Every year these had to be tested. And if you had to have a pump, which like if you have a well, you have to have at least, the last I heard was a 35 gallon per minute pump. And they require a 400-gallon supply tank. So, I mean, at my house, for my well, I only have I think about a 50-gallon tank, if that.
Probably less than that.
Yeah, with a sump pump. So where are you putting the big tank? And if you have a power outage like we had here recently, someone's going to have to take care of the water problem with freezing. There's a lot of little things that you could maybe deal with if you was a big company, but there's a lot of little things that the individual has got to think about. And I know you can't stop it from ever coming. It's coming. But it's just like seatbelts. I've worn my seatbelt since the day I bought my first car. And I'll always wear my seatbelt. But I hate the fact that somebody tells me I got to have a seatbelt. I don't like to be mandated that. I'd rather it be my choice. And my choice is because I've seen the results of it, and with racing, you know how it is with Bill, we've raced. You couldn't even race without a seatbelt holding you in the seat.
Right.
So anyway, I mean, even on the highway, you would have to have that for the safety, and I do mine. But sprinkler systems, they're good for the safety. They will help you get out, but there's a lot of cost to it. I even look at it this way. I have a car that gets 18 miles to a gallon. What'd be great for the environment and great for everybody in my economy too is if I had a 40-gallon or 40-mile-per-gallon car. But I can't afford it, so don't buy it. How many people won't build if they can't afford it? I went on the internet. There's a thing here called Cost Helper and let you have this, for sprinkler and fire costs. And they're claiming that an average home costs $2,000 to $8,000, and a larger home could be $7,000 to $16,000. And that's not counting if you want to put in a pump. If you want to put in a pump, it could go up another $3,600. You might add, so a larger house might add $20,000 to the cost of the home. It's going to affect this building. It's just, you know, like I said, it's not the fact that it's not good for the safety. It's just the economy. It's not a good time right now either. Everyone's trying to look at what you can do, incentives, and how you can get people to come to the area and build. This isn't. If it was optional, fine. And you go to the people and you explain to them and you educate them, and hopefully they would go for it. But when you mandate it and the cost is there, and you, like you said, you're going to have inspectors, and then, like I said, no one's even talking about, do they have to be inspected yearly? And then I know that we had to replace the sprinkler systems in the buildings back here for the Kelly because of the age. And then I worked at the bakery, and an inspector came in and found paint on a couple of the heads. Okay, I had to pull those heads and send them away and have them tested. And he called me back and he said he wanted some more to test. I said, well, you're going to paint your own, because I gave him all I had. But there it is, people painting their houses. How many people is going to have somebody come in and paint their house and not know and get paint on the sprinkler head? If it does affect it, there's a problem. There's a lot to it. Here's the sprinkler code right here. How many people that sign, or it's like the health bill, how many knows what's in it when they signed it?
Well,
There's a lot to it.
a lot of what you got there is the commercial code, and there's a lot of difference between
True.
the commercial.
Yeah,
and
this is the
residential.
commercial, but it's still, in time, it's just like everything else. Here's this part, this comes later. Because this is what you need to do. I mean, the house is still going to have the pump, still going to have a, it's going to still have to be designed. So anyway, I'm just saying that I'm not complaining about it being for the safety. I'm just saying it's going to hurt the economy, and it's going to possibly make people think before they build.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
And I look.
We had talked about some form of an incentive or something to encourage people to do this. How far are we from a staff recommendation on something like that?
Commissioners, I think we were going to wait to see whether or not this actually passed, and we're probably another 10 days away from something.
Okay, so
We're
not
having
months away.
No. We're having continuous dialogue. Getting consensus among your staff has been a challenge for this commissioner. So,
It's not like herding cats, is it?
yeah, it kind of is.
Okay.
Look at me.
Okay.
One more issue on this before we close this up.
Certainly.
I would request anyone that has some questions on this to please speak with me. I have tried to talk on this issue as much as I could, but people seem to be kind of avoiding me on this because there's a whole lot more than what Gary just said that's being hid behind the scenes. And to go briefly, a well over 400 feet deep, 15-gallon minute at a wellhead, you need a 7.5 horsepower motor. I work at a water plant, run a well house. 15-gallon a minute in a shallow well is at least 5 horse, 7.5 horse, has to be 443 phase. There's all kinds of issues here that people are not looking at. It's a 1-inch line, they're saying we'll gladly take care of it, not even close. C factor, 90s, this and that. 100 foot from a tap on a 1-inch line, you ain't going to get it. You're not going to get it. And I'll argue that with anyone, show it to them. It happens. I am 100% for safety, absolutely. Smoke detector law is one of the best laws they ever had. It's a shame to see people actually get injured over a $1 battery. But this, I work with several firemen that actually work for the water company, and they will tell you flat out, it's almost impossible. It really is. And I would most certainly glad that someone would see me, because I'd like to see someone change my mind on this. I really would, but that's it.
Okay. All right. Councilman, is there anything you want to add? Okay. Is this the last, what you wanted to be last? Okay, well, if you're not last or being last, and then you want to be last? Yeah. Okay, all right.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Edward Evans, and my address is 12914 North Crescent Street, Apartment 38, Cumberland. I'm glad I came here tonight because I've heard some pros and cons on this sprinkler system issue, and anybody that can answer this is more educated about the sprinkler system than I. On the gentleman that just talked about the average home, sure, it's one cost. But can they construct a sprinkler system to get through, say, a two-story home, and if you have a fire in the kitchen, when a sprinkler system goes off, does it go off through the entire home or just the designated area?
Residential systems, it's only the head where the fire is. One head at a time goes off. They're heat activated.
Well, that answers one of my questions, because if it would fire every place, you would automatically, if you had hardwood floors, you would automatically ruin a home. So that takes care of that issue. But is this going to be mandatory, handed down by the state?
By 2015, yes.
So, in other words, one more individual rights that we're giving up.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. How many new homes did we construct last year? Approximate.
65 has been basically the norm over the last 5-6 years. I think it dipped down to
You were in the 30s.
38 or something like that. Just last year, I mean, we really took a dive off, and we were running that steady. This year, I think we're gliding down to last year, that 38, 40. I wish I'd have run that number off for year to date. We got so far.
Okay. Well, I can get that offline from you.
Jim, how many of those has put sprinkler systems in their house?
None. There has been nobody make an inquiry directly to us about putting it in, and we would be more than helpful with people if they want to do it. We would give them the guidance and steer them to the folks that they need to go and see for the inspections, installation, and so forth. But I have never had anybody in. Just to follow up on some of the things were said, sprinkler systems essentially have been around as long as I can remember, relevant to your institutional, commercial uses, industrial, but not all commercial uses necessarily have to be sprinkled. It's all based on use, the material stored in the building, the occupant floor loads, egress travel paths. So, I mean, you can have, say, a bank, some of these branch banks they're building now, they don't necessarily have to be sprinkled, even though they are a commercial building. So there are exceptions in the non-residential world relevant to sprinkler systems. But, you know, there are other safeguards in fire safety that are built into everything with the gypsum board and the garages and things of that nature. You know, if somebody's willing to do it, we'll be more than glad to help them out. And essentially, when this is, if the one timeline we discussed here tonight, it'll put the document on the county books as it's a law for reference whenever contracts and so forth are written, which we don't have now. And then, as Bill stated earlier, you know, the commissioners can change their mind at any point and make it compulsory. But then, you know, a lot of what I wasn't prepared for today was, you know, the debate was pretty much over. The state pretty much, the way we understand it, has said, you know, by this 2015 date, all political subdivisions within the state, it's supposed to be mandatory at the state level. Our job is just to see that it gets done right, and facilitate it for the people who are constructing dwelling units.
Okay. All right, moving right on. We have another hearing, item number 3. This is Code Home Rule Bill 5-12, the Braddock Run Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project Bond Authorization. You're going to defer to Mr. Bennett as well?
Yep, he knows about the money.
Sure, I am like passing the ball to you, and you will not take a shot.
I don't want you pulled out those headphones again. You'll be getting the earphones out again.
That's right. Where is my earphones? don't hit the alarm, Dan, don't hit the alarm. Anyhow, go ahead, I'm sorry, sir.
Well, good evening.
Evening.
Since Bill introduced the bill last week, I'll save you from having to hear more from him this week. And I'll keep it brief. This bill was introduced last week. It would authorize the commissioners to borrow $2.5 million through Maryland Department of Environment for Braddock Run sanitary sewer phases 1 and 2, their related improvements in that area in Eckerd and Claryville. This, also like the last bill introduced last week, the hearing is this week, so we'll take any comment there is. You can vote as early as next week, and if you do that, it would be effective September 23rd. We will repay this debt through ad valorem, and as of right now, the first $1 million of this has qualified for MDE's loan forgiveness program is what they essentially call it. It works out to be a grant. So of the first $1,875,000 would ultimately turn into a grant, even though we have to treat it as a loan up front. So that's where we stand today. The money will be borrowed at 1% over 30 years, so it's an attractive term.
Can we
At
add
this
any
point,
dry cleaning equipment on there?
probably not.
Oh, okay.
You could try, but MD would probably catch you.
Can you rehabilitate a sewer line with it?
No, but we could mess it up.
They've got another rate for you.
Yeah, I know.
Special.
It's an X rating.
Yes.
Okay, one at a time here. That's not,
Something got caught in my throat there. Get a drink of
anyhow,
water.
okay, I'm sorry.
But at this point, we're just opening it up for any public
Is
comment.
there any other public comment on this particular Code Home Rule Bill 5-12? No? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioners,
Thank you.
any comments?
No, sir.
Okay. Department of Economic and Community Development, item number 4, Resolution 12-17, Maryland Mortgage Program. Understand that Mr. Nedved is here to share a brief.
Could I dim the lights from my PowerPoint presentation? Commissioners, I'm going to read 2 short paragraphs and
Get my
then
gun.
I'll get back to the seat. The Maryland Community Development Administration provides financing for the Maryland Mortgage Program to each county through the sale of tax-exempt bonds. This program provides below-rate mortgages for home ownership to the residents of Allegany County. All of Allegany County is considered a targeted area, which means one does not have to be a first-time home buyer to participate in this program. The 2012 sub-allocation for Allegany County is $2,520,313. CDA offers a variety of 30-year fixed-rate loans. Interest rates range from 1.638% to 4.355%, depending on the option selected. Since Allegany County is a target area, current income limits to qualify are $88,100 for 1 or 2 persons in the household, which I think is pretty generous, with an increase to $101,315 for a family of 3 or more. The maximum acquisition cost, which is the house, is $289,470 for existing or newly constructed homes. So this is a nice program.
What if you have like 7 kids and adults?
Yeah, 7 kids, you can get $1 million.
One on the way.
We'll get that dry.
7 kids and a semi, I thought.
And that's it, Commissioners. I'm going to sit down.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to authorize the Board of County Commissioners to transfer this money for resolution number 12-17. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And
It
second.
has been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5. This is from the Allegany County Sheriff's Office, Alternative Sentencing Division.
Can you spell that?
Mr. Jewell will pronounce it correctly for me about the Allegany County Sheriff's Office of Community Service Grant.
Thank you. Good evening. First of all, Chapin Jewell, on behalf of the Alternative Sentencing Division of the Sheriff's Office, come requesting that the Commissioners accept a grant award in the amount of $381 from the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention. This grant is a grant that we have received for many years, and it's been very successful, not only at funding positions, but also in giving us equipment that we've needed. For example, weed eaters, lawnmowers, things of that nature. And we come asking that the commissioners allow us to accept this award.
Sure. Commissioners, like to entertain a motion to accept this community service grant.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I got to ask you,
Yes, sir.
Chapin, what is the definite, how did we come back? I always like, we have lots of kids, so we always get lots of names.
Well, I can tell you that the name, and you'll appreciate this, Commissioner, the name Chapin is Old French. It means chaplain or minister, which for me is appropriate considering that my father is in fact a man of the cloth, if you will.
All right, okay.
So that's the meaning of the name.
Very interesting.
Yeah, see?
Be careful, he's looking for a name right now.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, number 8. All right. That might be the name. Sorry, Rudd's out. Rudd McKay. I mean, I know that's rugged, but that's just so.
Pretty good.
There's a ring to it.
It does have a ring to it.
Yeah.
I'll be talking to your wife.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling ring, but thank you.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, you've had too much caffeine today.
Oh, it's all the fun a man could ever want. Okay. Mr. Eberly, anything you'd like to share with us tonight?
Just a brief shout out to my dear friend and mentor, John Kirby, who is with us tonight from the city of Frostburg.
Woo, put your hands in the air.
And John is working with us on our next road show for the county commissioners. We're hoping to pull that off the second Thursday in September at 7 o'clock at the community center in Frostburg. So that is also a week full of events as the city of Frostburg celebrates its bicentennial. So, thanks for all your help, John.
Thank you very much, Mr. We'll go ahead and clock that punch card for you.
Great.
Thank you very much, sir. Commissioner Brody.
Also noted in the audience tonight, we have Commissioner Alderson from Frostburg. It's nice for him to attend, and nice to see him. And I'll give us another little brief rundown of this week. It sure seems a lot longer than what we got wrote here, but starting Monday, July 30th, Mike gave a pregnancy support class. First Wave Pregnancy Support Center meeting, a meeting with Delegate Myers and the county commissioners and the county administrator. Tuesday, July 31st, a Maryland Department of Environment meeting, air quality, Animal Control Board of Directors interview, City of Cumberland meeting, and Chamber of Commerce Crab Feast planning meeting. A big event for tomorrow night, Wednesday, August 1st, Public Works meeting and Town of Coney meeting. And then today, August 2nd, Commissioners' Public Works session and Commissioners' Public meeting.
Commissioner Valentine.
Most of you have probably been hearing the past couple of days about the rather large changes in the proposals for the Rocky Gap facility. The commissioners will be meeting with representatives from Lakes next Wednesday to discuss about this. Financial considerations have made them cut back from building a 60,000 square foot facility to putting the slots in the actual meeting rooms of the existing Rocky Gap. We find that to be very problematic. Those conference rooms bring a lot of people to this area. We feel that it will be detrimental to lose those conference rooms. So we are in hopes that we can convince them to start construction of new conference rooms at the same time that they start moving slots into the existing conference rooms. That way we would lose those facilities for maybe a year. As their existing plan is drawn, it would be 3 years before they would look at replacing those rooms. And with what we've seen with the actions of the Video Lottery Commission the past couple of days, at the end of 3 years, if they say, well, we decided against it, chances are the state would say, okay, that's up in Allegany County, and we won't worry about it. So we are still working on this. It's something we hope to keep going. I think it would even be a benefit to the slots operation to have rooms where you get larger groups coming and staying out there for conferences like there has been in the past. So we will keep the community abreast of what's going on. We were taken as much by surprise of this as everybody else in the area. So we'll just have to work on it, see what we can come up with.
Okay, thank you. Just as a little bit of a clarification, when that meeting is with, it'll be with, our lead representative, so it'll be a commissioner with Lakes. So, okay, for sign up for constituents, first we have Mr. Wilmot.
Yes.
Remind everybody that 5 and 5, please give your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Kenneth Wilmot. I live at 513 4th Avenue, Cumberland, Maryland. I'm here to speak on animal control.
Okay.
First, I would like to read an article that I received this past week from State Farm Insurance. And it's a little brochure, and they send you these little newsletters all the time. And this is what it says. Teach children how to be safe around dogs. That's the title. It says, each year, almost 5 million people are bitten or attacked by dogs. Children are frequent victims of dog bites. In fact, 60% of all dog bite victims are children under the age of 12. Tragically, of the 33 dog bites that resulted in death last year, 20 of these fatalities were young children. State Farm encourages responsible pet ownership and behavior and caution around dogs, including family pets. Under the right circumstances, any dog might bite. Teach young children to be careful around pets and to never approach a dog they never know. Always ask the dog's owner for permission for petting any dog. I agree with this whole article except for one thing. Children do not bite dogs. Dogs bite the children. Now then, last year I've tried to call in stray dogs. I can't even get through to the police department after hours out there. You call out there, they won't even come out and pick up stray dogs. What are we paying them for? Anyway, comes to mind in the past year right here in the city of Cumberland, a little 5-year-old girl down on Arch Street got all bit up, face mangled. And just recently out at the shelter, we had another person get bit out there. Now that's all history. Nothing we can do about it. These 5 million dog bites, we can't do nothing about that either. But the problem is, what are we going to do in the future to prevent it? My suggestion is that at the animal control shelter, every dog coming in there be fitted with a muzzle. Now they make muzzles. The dog can eat, it can drink, but it can't bite and it can't bark. The price of these muzzles would be minimum compared to what the tragedy that could have happened out there. The kid could have been killed if some circumstance had been other. Now then, I take total offense that everything's blamed. I've read 3 or 4 articles the last couple of weeks in the newspaper about it's a child's fault, this and that, this and that. Number one, I also suggest that no more juveniles be sent out to the shelter for community services. There's a lot better things they can do. They can pick up paper along the streets. I mean, if you walk along any street, you can see that it's totally trash. My street is trash. I try to pick it up, but I can't keep up with it. Same with Willbrick Road, it's trash. Put them out there. It's safe, they're out in the fresh air. Now then, come to mind, again, to this article. On TV in the past year, there was a 5-day-old baby girl killed by the family pit bull. The family excused, well, we only left the room for a couple minutes. But how are you going to teach a 5-day-old child be around pets. It's these dogs, not only pit bulls, any dog will bite. And that's why I'm insisting that people with the animal control shelter start picking up stray dogs. A stray dog can walk down the street, he'll pass 50 people maybe. Number 51 tries to, talk to him or stop him, and it'll bite him without fail. It's just like cats. Cats are unpredictable. You can have a cat, you might walk up and try to pick it up. He don't want to be picked up. He's going to let you know it. Anybody that owns cats have been around, they'll tell you. They got a personality like, if they don't want to be picked up, you ain't going to pick them up. The same with dogs. They're unpredictable. So I would request that all the animals, dogs out there at the shelter, number one, protect not only the person out there, but to protect the taxpayer from having to pay for the medical bills. Now, I asked last week, who's paying for the medical bill for that kid that got bit out there? Are we paying it or is the family paying it?
I don't know the answer to that, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Commissioners, next week, tentatively, we will be asking for your approval for the new members of the Animal Control Board. I've completed all the interviews and I've made a recommendation, and hopefully that'll be bubbling up to you all next Thursday.
Very good.
So, okay. Your last, sir.
Okay.
Per your request.
You want my address again?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
kind of stickler that way.
Name's Edward Evans. My residence is 12914 North Crescent Street, apartment 38, Cumberland. Here recently, the reason why I'm here is just recently it's been brought to my attention. The issue that I like to talk about is there was a building constructed at Wright's Crossing somewhat years ago, and it was here. I'll just read what I sent downstate under the Freedom of Information Act because I want to get the address correct. The location of this building is 11427 State Route 36 in Wright's Crossing below Frostburg, Maryland. The building was built to handle the overflow of sewage from Frostburg. I'm requesting the following information. When was the building built? The name of the contractor? How much money was involved? Allegheny County, the state of Maryland, the Department of Environment, and what was the total cost of the project? So anyway, I sent this letter to a gentleman downstate. In about 6 to 8 weeks, I got no response, so I called the gentleman. He referred me back to this project. It was an Allegheny County project, and it was fully funded through the county through federal grant money. The building was built in 1966, and it was built by a contractor by the name of Wilson Construction, 821 Buckingham Road, Cumberland. The price was $590,000, $105. And the only reason I'm bringing this to your attention, Tim Dolan was a game warden from Allegany. Took two gentlemen back this road where this building was built. And at the time, they were exploding it right into George's Creek. The toilet paper was hanging in the trees 15 feet high. Now, it amazes me that 2,000 people under the $28 million new sewer plant that's got stuck to pay this deal, and everybody else uses George's Creek for a toilet. Now, I'm not against disposal plants, and I'm all for cleaning up the bay. But I got some pictures here and the information, and I'd just like to pass that on to you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Ed. Okay. I'd like to remind everyone that our next public business meeting will be August the 9th, 2012, 5 o'clock in this room, room 100. Remind everyone to see the news release about the announcement of the White Oaks recycling site closing. As we always do with every meeting, we thank you very much for participating in your government, and I hope everyone has such a sunshiny day, just like Bill Rudd.
Oh, my gosh.